An astounding show of support today for Lindsay Clancy. Hundreds of women, all dressed in pink, cheered the accused mom as she arrived in a police caravan for her murder trial. Supporters ran across the field to greet Lindsay. Some came with their babies. They held up heart hands during a silent rally for the mom who strangled her 3 young children, then jumped from the second-floor window, leaving her paralyzed for life.
It's a buzz around here, guys.
Fox News legal analyst Chanley Painter, a former prosecutor, actually wore pink in her live report as she spoke to Lindsay's defense attorney, who was greeted with cheers.
Hey, guys. What do you think of the support for Lindsay Clancy out here?
I have no words.
No words?
It's amazing.
It echoes last year's Free Karen Reed campaign. Those supporters also wore pink. She was acquitted of murdering her cop boyfriend. The rally for Lindsay Clancy is not just in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the trial is being held. There are gatherings across the USA today, including here in New York in Union Square. Actress Alyssa Milano today is joining the chorus of Lindsay Clancy's sympathizers. She revealed, "I stayed in a public psychiatric ward for 3 days after the birth of her son." But others are taking to social media to express shock over the display of support for 36-year-old Lindsay. Are people really cheering for someone who murdered her kids? 3 babies were strangled. What? Today in court, the judge called up each juror one by one for a private conversation. It's not known what was discussed, but we do know that the jury saw Lindsay's army of supporters as they entered the courthouse. The lone witness today was a hospital chaplain who testified what Lindsay told her after her breathing tube was removed 8 days after she killed her children.
She alluded to having heard a voice, and the voice, according to Lindsay, told her that if she did not follow the command, neither she nor her children would be safe.
Have you on tonight, I've got to say this. I would rather have a conversation with a doctor about SSRIs, about psychotic drugs, about the effect that it has, and yet the conversation online isn't about that. People are not talking about that. The crowds of women who are showing up at the courthouse aren't saying, Pfizer, we have a problem. They aren't saying we have a problem with SSRIs. They're saying this is about the way I feel as a woman, and I kind of understand why you might kill your kids. Or is this really what we're watching here?
Yeah, we're finding out that women are not good with kids. They're not very good mothers, and they're not as nurturing as we previously thought. Remember, women have aborted 1/8 of the world population, so it doesn't really surprise me that women are defending Lindsay Clancy because one out of 4 women has killed their kid. So
that's a tough statistic. It really is. I've seen videos online also now where it's like some woman throwing like water on her baby's face, and it's just all these kind of weird responses that are coming out of it. And I even saw one today, I'm sure you'll know this reference, with a man holding his child, and he put like a fake tear and he says, "I understand Chris Benoit." And it's like, I understand some people are trying to be funny with it, but it's just like the whole thing just feels so gross to me that we're actually having a conversation like I can understand why someone might kill their own children.
yeah, I mean, again, it's because women have. Women have aborted, 20 to 30% of the world population, a third of Gen Z. So
how much of this do you think is a result of that? Like, is it the majority of it? Do you think that some of this is, hey, this has just become so much a part of our culture that it's the natural progression of it is to move beyond just, a child in the womb to now, a child at any point?
Well, women are fighting to not have to reproduce with average men. So that's why women fight for abortion so hard, is because women, their biological imperative is to reproduce with the best genetics possible. And so, that's why women are fighting pretty hard for it.
Shouldn't they stop having sex with average men, if that's the case?
You would think that'd be too hard.
Too hard. Stop letting average men get you pregnant, and then you don't have to worry about that problem anymore.
Yeah, well, a lot of women don't qualify because most women in America are overweight, quarter of STDs, and then when you include SSRIs and mental illness, most women don't qualify for the top men in society. So.
Well, and either way, right, the top of any group is going to be a very small number of people. So,
correct.
Unless we're living in a polygamous culture where he's going to take on multiple women, probably not going to work out very well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for years that women are not nurturing and they're not good with kids. Women are the most likely ones to abuse children. They're the most likely ones to neglect children. You know, women have the option to drop babies off at fire stations and still choose. We're seeing case after case after case of women throwing their babies in dumpsters. So this is kind of the natural progression, because we've had 50 years of all this propaganda saying that women are the nurturing gender without women having to do anything to prove that. When really, if you look at the statistics and who raises better kids, men are the nurturing gender. Men are better with children.
I mean, the statistics don't lie. That is statistically true. And it's also statistically true that child abuse is higher among women than it is among men, despite the fact that most people would assume the opposite to be true.
Yeah, and it's even worse because if you look at the child abuse statistics, the most likely male to abuse the kid is not the biological father, but it's a stepdad.
Yeah.
So like it's a male that the woman chose and brought into the kid's life. You know, I'm doing a documentary on divorce and like I've heard horror. I know a guy that his ex-wife killed his kid out of neglect and she still got custody. So this lie that women are good with kids and nurturing, it affects policy decisions, and it really doesn't give men a fair shake in court.
Yeah. What do you make of the fact that there's also kind of two narratives, right? One narrative, again, pushes towards this idea of understanding the postpartum part of it. And I understand postpartum depression is a very real thing. I'm not trying to downplay that it is, but I don't think it causes you to kill your children. I think a lot of women suffer from it, and almost none kill their children over it. The other narrative that's pretty strong online is this idea that, well, she couldn't possibly have done it. It was a husband. He's the one. He's having the affair. He's with somebody else. He went on a trip. And there may be some kind of weird stuff there. But even her defense team isn't making the argument that he did it. So why has the internet decided that this is their cause?
Yeah, because whenever women are held accountable for anything, they always find a way to blame the nearest man. And we're kind of in a culture where women don't have consequences for anything. So it's very normal for women to blame, our poor choices on anybody else. Sorry, what was the other part of the question you said?
So the first part, like we had talked about before, is this kind of rallying around the postpartum thing.
Yeah.
The second part is the husband.
Yeah. I think there's two things with the postpartum. First off, women, we're having kids older and older than ever. And, women have been in control of our schedules from the time we're like super young. And so this is when a woman has a kid, it's the first time she's ever had to think about anybody else other than herself, because women make the majority of buying decisions, and being a young, pretty girl, everybody's catering to you 24/7. So it's kind of the loss of, I have to think about someone else other than myself. The other thing is postpartum is post-nut clarity for women. A lot of women want to get married and have the kid, and they don't realize they reproduced with an average guy. They get the kid, and they realize they didn't pass on the best genetics, and so that's a lot of postpartum. So
I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone describe postpartum.
Yeah, it's post-nut clarity for women. Yeah, because you guys get it after sex, we get it after the kid or the marriage. That's why women change after marriage or the kid. Yeah, I mean, you hear that when you interview guys. They're like, who is my wife? I thought I married this amazing woman. She completely changed. Yeah, post-nut clarity. Sorry.
It's fascinating. Okay. What is your take on the SSRI part of this? I really do believe there is a story here. And I think that's the part that's going to get skipped over. But of course it is. If I'm running one of these multi-billion-dollar companies, I would love to feed into the internet all kinds of conspiracies about the husband and where was he headed to and what trip did he take. I'd love to feed into this stuff about, the postpartum, we are Lindsay, same Lindsay. I guess that's the trend, right? Same Lindsay. And have no discussion about the fact that there's a very real problem with SSRIs. Look at every school shooting over the past 20 years, and the shooter was on SSRIs, workplace shootings. We are not allowed to have that discussion. No one's allowed to talk about that online, in media, anywhere. Maybe on this show is the only place we're actually going to talk about it. But to me, that's the real story here. And it's the one thing, the most legitimate thing in my mind, the one thing that is not going to get talked about.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that the SSRIs is a cop-out because women, we always just tend to do the laziest thing possible. So, you could meditate or run or I don't know, like there has to be better choices than to take a drug. Yep. And we just pick the easiest, laziest thing, which is to take a drug. Same thing with Ozempic, right? We could work out. No, not going to do that. So I think they're going to blame the drug, but I really think this is just a woman that's a little bit off. And she's just not a good person, and she's selfish, and that's why she did it. I don't think a man can murder his family and then they blame a drug he was on. I think it's her. I think she is a bad person.
Well, just going back to the Chris Benoit example from earlier, right? The wrestler who ultimately killed his wife, his children, and then himself. I mean, this is a person, you're not even allowed to speak his name in certain circles, and even within the professional wrestling world, he's kind of been purged from that world. Nobody will talk about him at all. There certainly weren't people who were showing up at events and saying, "I'm like you, Chris. I could see myself doing the same thing." Like, there's such a double standard, if there is one, such a double standard over something like that.
Yeah, and to feminists, if we're going to blame it on hormonal issues, should men be allowed to rape because if they're turned on by us and they have more testosterone than us? No, of course not. So you don't get to kill your kid just because you had hormonal issues. As far as I'm concerned, I hope they lock her up and throw away the key, and I think she deserves it. So.
Oh, hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who teach and rule well. Salutations to your brothers in the highways and byways. Salutations also goes out to your brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn. I'm the brother Malak from the Diligent Soldier Camp here in Boston, Mass. As always, I pray this lesson be edifying to the elect. All right. The name of this one is going to be Absolute Through Society. Absolute Through Society. And you could clearly see that, man, from these various videos. And I apologize that, that second one was a little long, but it was important to get all that information for people that possibly haven't, are not up to par with what's going on. They say that you could tell how, basically, roughly paraphrasing, how through a society or a nation is by the state of mind or the state that their women are in, man. And man, Esau, I mean, you always been ugly for the picture, man, but you through, man. I mean, a large percentage of Esau's well, not born, but a large percent of the children that could have possibly been alive right now have been, completely wiped out by these people. Because if you notice, man, in the midst of all these videos, the majority of everybody is Caucasian women, these Edomite women, Shedamites, all right? These devils, man, and here it is, that first chick, what's her name? Man, I'm bad with names, and I just heard it too. But anyways, the latest one, she strangled all three of her kids, man, and it was all premeditated. Information's coming out that she had told her husband to go fetch some things, or had her husband scheduled to go do something, and she timed it well and executed her children, man. Then try it off herself and ended up just getting paralyzed and put her in ICU for some time, and she had whispered to some nurse that she was hearing voices, man. Because at the end of the day, man, don't get it twisted. Don't ever get it twisted, man. These people have demons on them, man. Especially these Edomites. They have several demons on them, man. And just look at this, man. They raised over $1 million for this girl. After killing her children, man. I've seen petitions being signed to save puppies, so they won't do the same thing to puppies, or what is it called, euthanize? They put them to death, and and then you switch the subject, and you have them sign a petition for abortion to be outlawed or whatever, and you won't get that support, man. They'll walk away from you. I've seen countless videos of that, man, or countless examples of that. It's really, really crazy, man. I'm here trying to elaborate on this, man, and I'm a loss for words for the way that. I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's like, wow, man. Wow. These people are clapping for this person that off to unalived her children. You know, these people are putting up strangling hands. I think the media was trying to report it as heart hands or whatever, but nah, man. Do close up on a few of those, and you'll see that it's like a circle. You know, some fingers are even intertwined almost, man. We got to get out of here, man. We got to get out of here. And I'm not going to make this any longer, you know, because I know the post-production was a little long, and I hope, you know, you guys sat through it and just to listen, man, you know, because we got to be aware of these things, man, because this is who the Lord has set up, you know, to rule over us, man. These Edomites, man, and you could charge this to Esau, man. You could charge all this shit to, because these women, the reason they fight so hard and feel so passionate about having the liberty, right, whatever, to off their own, you know, seeds, children, is basically because they didn't have no other rights under this man, and out of spite, because they despise their own, you know what I'm saying, and oftentimes they choose Jake, as we all know, you know, they're capable of doing these things, man, and acting as if you know, nothing happened, you know, as if you just didn't off three, because this is not about postpartum, man. This ain't postpartum, man. You know, this is madness, man, on behalf of these women that are supporting her, and you know, obviously we know she's been demon possessed, man. That bitch got a lot of demons. I mean, if you see her face and her eyes, or the eyes of all these women that say that they do these things or support it, man, you'll see the demons, man. But let's bring out a few scriptures and wrap it up. This is the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 21. It says, he has not, hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump, to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor. And clearly Esau is that vessel, you know, on the planet, man, for dishonor. Because here it is, even the other nations, all these other heathen nations, they got their gods and their beliefs and whatnot, and their customs. But Esau takes the cake, because Esau will take all their customs and just remix it into his own demonic kind of shit. The point is, man, you know, this man is the parasite, man, on earth, man. Okay, and you've seen his children, these foolish people, you know, obviously taking after him, you know, but man, you know, this is just crazy, man. You know, they're doing this blatantly with no regards, man, you know, as if they didn't just take a life away, you know. There's a book of Ecclesiastes 7 and 13, because there's no changing these people, man. All right, consider the work of God, for who can make that straight which he has made crooked, right? So for you Edomite saving Israelites, you know, with your well-wishing, you know, this motherfucker's not making it in the kingdom, man. Okay? And the only reason they're going to even be around, because they ain't going to be inside the city, man, inside the kingdom. They're going to be in the outskirts, outside of the kingdom, you know, slaving it away. But they ain't gonna benefit from you know, the kingdom on earth, man. That's a big no-no, you know. And they prove it to us day in and day out, man, by their the way they carry themselves, man. They're warlike. They love blood. They don't mind death. You know what I'm saying? And they celebrate it. They celebrate it, man. This is Ecclesiastes 10 and 6. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low places. You know, you got, for whatever agenda that these people might have, you got officials, government officials that are behind, or, you know, responsible for giving these type of people a platform to speak out, you know. so they can make their money in the back end or benefit some way, somehow in the back end. And at the same time, it's beautiful to see that the house of Esau divided, because you got another part that don't want them to off their fetuses or their children. And I think you could off them even after they're like 2-3 years old or something, if I'm not mistaken. I know Massachusetts here, and they trying to pass a law, or passed it, where even after 34 weeks, something along those lines, you could off your child, man. How do you live with yourself, man? How do you face your family? Because not everybody feels that way. The majority of people know that this is wrong. It's a small percentage of emotionally unstable people that push this hard body, man. They don't bat an eye to it, man. And they love to say, people say that white people got no culture. That's bullshit, man. Death and hell is their culture, man. And by hell, I obviously mean hellish conditions, right? Salakia, give me 1 second. Right, so hellish conditions, man. This is hell. This society that Esau has forged, man. These metropolis, these pharmaceutical companies, these health industries, man. They're of no value, man, because what they do is treat the symptoms instead of finding out what the origins is, which they know what the origins are to these diseases, but they don't cure nobody, man, because there's no money in that, so everything is just backwards over here, man. Bad is good, good is bad, wise people don't get into politics, but they have to suffer being ruled over the dumbasses that do get into politics, man. Of these Edomites. Man, I'm just over it, man. I'm patiently waiting for the Lord, man, but the Lord can't come any quicker, man, any sooner. Ecclesiasticus 39:28, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, man, because at the end of the day, man, this is what this is, man. It's judgment of the Lord, man. Whether those 3 children, were under, clearly 2-3 years old, even if they were 5 or 6, man, they're spirits that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has created, man, for vengeance, for him to exact vengeance. It says, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. This lady grabbed some type of exercise tape or rubber, elastic or whatever, and strangled the children, man. Okay, those are sore strokes, man. Even if it was, because I've heard of other women like physically abusing their children by with their hands, like whether it's striking them or throwing them. There's a compilation videos of women like throwing, like, crashing out in front of their children, and the children are like terrified, man. But you could tell with the body language that they're doing it for, I'm not gonna say for likes, but definitely for some type of not so much recognition, but sympathy from people. You know what I mean? But it's disgusting, man, that this society is just fucking gross, man. Like, here it is, we making videos of this type of subject where Edomite women are offering their children, and a bunch of other Edomite women are trying to normalize that, because of how much they hate, just because they hate the Edomite man so much, they don't even want to have y'all babies, man. Which is why, they make those laws where they make it illegal for you to abort, man, because Esau's not reproducing the way he used to, man. It's getting real quiet for this nigga, man. The scripture goes on to say, in the time of destruction, they, the spirits, pour out their force, right? And appease, in other words, pleases, the wrath of him that made them. Now, the scriptures clearly tell you that the Father, Yahweh, is the Father of all spirits. So he's the one who made them. He created them. Okay? Which is why we have to fear the Lord, man. I don't say that lightly. We all go off and we ask for forgiveness, you know. But the Father's no respecter of person, man. You know, whatever your lot is, you definitely gonna walk that, man. You know. So it's why we are often reminded by the apostles, the scriptures when we read it, to pray often, to pray without ceasing, man. You know, because we truly need this spiritual hedge around us, man, because people are losing it out here, man. I have no doubt that lady had demons on her, man. It was further confirmed when she told the nurse, you know. I'll leave you with this last one, man, since we was talking about these women, man, because this is crazy. Ecclesiastes 7:25. It said, I apply my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things and to know the wickedness of folly, right? Even of foolishness and madness, right? So you got Solomon trying to, figure all this out, right? And as he's figuring out, he says, and I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets and her hands as bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Yo, all these women out here, man, supporting this, reposting, calling her brave and all this other shit, man. You people, you women are who these scriptures are going in, man. You read like Proverbs 30, I think it is. It goes in on the women. Ecclesiasticus, as we were just reading. It goes in because, y'all be going off, man. Because this shit got me feeling a certain way, man. Which is why I'm kind of a loss, not a loss for words, but like having a hard time kind of like putting what I want to say or feel into words, man, because I have children, man, and I got a bunch of nieces and even a newborn nephew, man, and ever since he was born, like a week and a half ago, I text my sister, how you doing? How you feeling? And reminding her to pray, and I remind her there's Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, those are the names that you got to pray on or pray to. But who knows, man? If she's like one of these crazy bitches out here praying to, JC in a time where, there's no doubt that the name of the Lord is not no damn Jesus, okay? And that it truly is indeed Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, man. Those are the names of the Father and Son. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to them, up to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, you know what I mean, to have mercy on people, to not have this type of mindset where you want to destroy the gifts that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has given you, man. Because at the end of the day, these children are gifts to us, man. We don't even belong to ourselves, man. We belong to the Lord. Man, absolute through society, man. I pray this lesson was edifying. In closing, I want to give all honors, all praises to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim V'Kakodash, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to your brothers in the highways and byways. Salutations also goes out to your brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn, man. The rest of the hopeful elect. To you all, I say shalom. Ababa Bo and Kwam Yasharala.
Stop thinking about these kids as people and think about them as ceramic vases for just...
Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck do you hoes be talking about? I don't look at them as kids. Those are fucking babies. Kids are fucking 13, 12. Those are fucking babies, bitch. Are you fucking... What the fuck are you talking about, ho?